Remember how Justin Bieber was a pretty pop star and then he was just homeless? That's kind of what happened to Overwatch. It was once shiny and grand and now it's not, like, not at all. What happened, Blizzard? What happened, OWL? I need to know. I need to know what happened. Of course, here at EarlyGame, we answer our own questions, so we went to our internal Overwatch expert. And he said, what happened to Overwatch is basically 3 things. Then he listed 5. The game is getting old, there are no news on Overwatch 2, it's losing players, Valorant and COVID came along, and Blizzard were slow to adapt to the esports ecosystem. It's a great job, really, it's fantastic. We're gonna run with that, just make some major adjustments, and also Amidu is me, and I'm voicing this video, and I don't know why I need to put up with this shit, but I'm just trying to help with the fucking script and read this. Number 1. Overwatch is old. 4 years is too old, said every pastor ever. Overwatch was released in 2016, making the game 4 years old. In the video game world, that's old. When Overwatch was released, hero dynamics and abilities in the shooter were new and exciting, but ever since then, Apex and Valorant have just done it better. Simply put, Overwatch's age is showing. Blizzard is very aware of this though and announced Overwatch 2, which leads us to the next problem. Can I get some information on Overwatch 2? Like, come on, seriously, this is silly, I feel ignored. Back in 2010, StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty was on top of the world. Then Blizzard flat out just ignored StarCraft 2 for 6 months without updates, and when Heart of the Swarm did come around, the whole StarCraft fire had simply just stopped burning and a whole lot of people were mostly out. You could almost say that Heart of the Swarm lost the Heart of the Swarm. It wasn't that Hearts of the Swarm was a bad expansion, but the passion of the players, it just never rebounded. You can only neglect someone for so long, and right now with Overwatch 2, it feels the same. Like, hey, we know things in Overwatch are not so great right now, but we're just going through a little rough patch, and Overwatch 2 is coming. Better things are ahead. Just wait, it will be amazing. Well, we're waiting, and honestly, this just feels like StarCraft all over again, and unless Overwatch 2 is everything and more, the players might not bounce back, especially since there are already players jumping ship who see no point in waiting for Overwatch 2, which leads us to number 3, mass exodus. This is really like a sinking ship where the captain promises it's not really going down, guys, but there's kind of water coming in from everywhere and you're thinking, shit, this is bad. I'm not comfortable with my swimming skills right now. If you want to know how bad, how about the fact that the reigning league MVP, reigning champion, and reigning world champions, Jay Sinatra 1, dropped the game at just 20 years old. He left at the height of his career in the middle of the season.
He was the face of Overwatch League to the public. He's left. This is huge. This is actually huge.
Specifically, he left Overwatch for Valorant, a game that's brand new. It's barely released and long time away from having an esports scene that's anywhere close to being as structured as the OWL. But where Overwatch and Blizzard stand for inconsistency and instability, Riot is the opposite. They have built the biggest esports out there in League of Legends, and for Valorant, they actively said, this is for the hardcores. This is an esports, like, get good or get out. The Overwatch League had lofty ambitions, and I recommend that, I applaud that, but seemingly no vision. You have an international league with players traveling 70,000 miles a season.
Like, we go traveling to Asia, like Europe and stuff like that. We have home games, away games.
That's double of what the LA Lakers travel in a 6-month NBA season, and an Overwatch season is 2.5 months long. That's ridiculous. You can't have players traveling that amount and then have an ever-changing meta. If you're gonna have players travel that much, they at least need to be settled into a game that they know. If you're an NBA player, you're playing the same game of basketball day in and day out, with the only adjustments being the opposing team. The OWL players, coaches, and staff have to adjust to a whole new game rule set every other week while traveling across the globe to China. That's not good. Or as Chris Dreameric put it, hero pools are the worst thing ever to happen to OW. Everyone I've talked to hates them. They make our lives hell. I mean, you can tell, it causes extreme stress. and performance fluctuation, and worse, it led to players like Asher, The Friend, TF2 Pine, and Effect leaving the game and citing burnout and mental health issues as the reason. Travel is not just taxing on players and coaches though, it's the staff, the casting talent. They have the same travel requirements, only for much less pay than the players, and this is another huge problem for Blizzard. Number 4, respect your talent, bro. They have this idea, this dream of being a big league, but they forget the many shoulders that any league has to stand on.
Is it fun?
It's fun.
The fantastic talent that Overwatch League has is a huge reason for its polished presentation. But Blizzard steered this ship so far, of course, in neglecting talent in any way that League Commissioner Nate Nanzer literally just left, and the talent followed. Monte Cristo, gone. DOA, gone. Chris Puckett, gone. Malik Forte, gone. Reasons being a lack of respect and low salaries. And to make things worse, Activision Blizzard Esports League CEO Pete Vlastelica later said that they didn't lose anyone. No, they were just going for upgrades. Pete, you didn't let them go. They got lost in the bigger vision, the international ambition. Blizzard was on step 10, but everybody else just wasn't there. Blizzard wanted to build Rome, but they wanted to do it in a day. And this lack of vision, patience, and mostly just lack of building a solid foundation is evident in the most important area of all. Number 5, gameplay. We touched on this before, an ever-changing meta and hero bans. All of this was Blizzard's desperate attempt to fix the game. Overwatch just never managed to balance casual and esports. They tried to cater to both. Problem is, Overwatch clearly has a much larger casual scene, which also demands their own balance, and it deserves them because it's a fully priced retail game at $60 and it's not free to play. At the same time though, Blizzard wants the game to be an esports. And not just tier 3, tier 2, no. They want to be a tier 1 esports, and that just becomes tricky when you try to balance your game for 2 player bases. Actually, make that 4 because it's on PC and console. Next thing you know, you have your reigning MVP citing these gameplay issues as his main reason for leaving.
Like, I like having one meta in, like, for a little bit, at least like a month or something, and then figuring it out and then like getting or like perfecting it. But like right now the meta's changing every fucking week. That's like too much.
I mean, you have the Vancouver Titans dismantling their team. You have half your casting talent and the league commissioner leaving. You then rely on epic, new, unique, expensive homestands to save your league, which of course failed due to the coronavirus. And that's not Blizzard's fault, but this is typical of Blizzard's shiny first approach with Overwatch. The game looks great. The ideas are grand. The presentation is superb, and the homestands, quite honestly, would have been revolutionary in esports. But
if the game is a dumpster fire, if the game is unwatchable, if the game is not fun for both viewer and for competitor, you can put as much dressing as you want on it. You can put as much flash as you want on it. You can put as much sizzle as you want on it. But at the end of the day, that will not last, because the dumpster fire will still be there. And if you believe the game is garbage, then at the end of the day, the league will also be garbage.
You cannot build the greatest esports league ever on a game with flawed gameplay. You can't. With the casual scene being so massive though, the game remains large as a whole and it's popular. And there's no way Blizzard will leave all that money behind. They will continue to try to cater to both the casual and the hardcore audience, and thus they will never become the esports they aspire to be. Face it, the Overwatch League is a failure. The best player is gone, more are leaving by the week, and teams are rebuilding and even dismantling. The last-ditch efforts to rejuvenate the homestands have been completely shut down by the coronavirus. This sounds bad, but is it such a bad thing? I mean, Overwatch is probably better off taking the Fortnite route. It's a competitive scene. It's not an esports. There is nothing wrong with a big casual scene, nothing wrong with a video game that is really fun to play. We, me included in our esports bubble, we often forget the fun aspect of multiplayer games, the aspect of a game simply being a game and not being a constant grind to get better and compete. Overwatch 2 will actually add PvE, and honestly, PvE has always been what Blizzard was best at. Also, as a company, Blizzard obviously values the casual fan. I mean, the announcement of Diablo Immortal for mobile really just highlighted that.
We are so excited about this game.
There was huge backlash.
Is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
But at the end of the day, many gamers and tons of casuals are going to flock to the game. They're going to have a great time with it. They're going to get a lot of enjoyment out of it and play with friends, share, laugh, and do it all not just to compete. Ultimately, Blizzard simply is not set up to be the esports giant they hope to be. They've showed this time and time again with StarCraft, Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, and now Overwatch basically follows the same pattern. This is not a failure though, let me reiterate that. This is simply a need for reassessing some priorities. Blizzard games are fun, just not for esports.